And we'll record. And here we go.
All right.
And here we go.
Yes.
And
Here we go.
there we go.
All right. Let's wait for. All right, well, hello everybody, and welcome to our Tech Talk live event today. And today we're going to be looking at the accessibility options built into the Xbox One console, which I have handily brought to Vision Forward today.
Which will make the demo a lot easier.
It really will, you know. We think about this stuff. It's clever. Yeah, this is a video game console made by Microsoft, and being made by Microsoft, it has some of the accessibility features of Windows built into it, which is pretty neat. And we're going to be taking a look at some of those today. Now, the Xbox One that we're looking at is actually a fairly old console at this point. It's soon to be replaced by Microsoft's Xbox Series X console, which should be coming out later this year. And so we are a little bit late to the party with this one, I guess. However, I expect that the Series X will have the same accessibility features and possibly more as well. The stuff that this Xbox has is pretty good, but definitely lacking in some areas, which we will be talking about today. But yeah, to begin with, we're going to take a look at some of the vision accessibility in terms of magnification and in terms of contrast enhancement. And then we're going to be taking a look at some of the features that we have in terms of speech output. So that's basically the plan here. So hopefully you are able to see on the television that we have set up, able to see the Xbox screen here.
People do need to make sure that they stick to the end because we're going to have a battle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So at the end of this episode, we are going to have we're going to play a fighting game. And the way that we're going to do it, it's a 2D fighting game. So there's no 3D elements to worry about. And it's going to be Cory, who is blind, versus myself, who is sighted. We're going to play one round with me looking and one round with me with my eyes closed. And then we're going to see who the best fighting game champion is.
Now, I mean, we don't have to go through all that trouble. We could just say right away that I will be the best.
I mean, we could do, but I feel like that would be a lie, and I don't like to lie to people. So we should definitely try it out for ourselves. Right. We have actually played a practice round.
We did.
Yeah, and it was actually fairly evenly matched. Yeah, so
it's good research.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we had fun doing it. So more to the point. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in here. We're going to take a look and see what we have. So at the moment, I'm on the Xbox dashboard. And this is the screen you will see when you first boot up your Xbox. And it consists of various different icons, which will take you to different places in the Xbox, including to like the store and where you can launch games from, and like various community features and things like that. To be honest, I don't necessarily think it's the best dashboard in the world, just because there's a lot of content on there, a lot of which isn't necessarily relevant. But there you go, that's the way it goes. So in order to get to the accessibility features, we have a couple of different options to get to all, so we can see all of the different features. We're going to go ahead and press the Xbox button on the controller. This is a circular button at the top of the controller. If I just go ahead and press that once, and it's going to open up a menu where we can do various things. I'm going to press the right arrow on the direction pad, and it's going to take us to our profile. And if I press down, then we'll get to our settings. And I'm going to go ahead and press the A button to get into the settings here. And so in the settings, this is actually laid out very much like the Windows 10 settings. So if you're familiar with those, then it's going to be pretty familiar here. On the left-hand side, we have various various headings. So like we have here general, account, system, devices and streaming, preferences, and right at the bottom, ease of access. And that's where we want to go. So those are on the left. On the right-hand side, then, will show you the options within those headings. And so for ease of access, we have options for narrator, which is the screen reader built into the Xbox and into Windows. We have magnifier. We have closed captioning. We have high contrast. controller, game transcription, and audio. So these are for all disabilities. Not all of them are going to be relevant for vision. But some of the ones that are going to be narrator, magnifier, high contrast, and there is an option within game transcription as well, which is pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and first of all, we're going to look at high contrast. So I'm just going to go and arrow down to the high contrast here. And this again is very similar to Windows in that we have these different high contrast color schemes that we can use to make things pop on the screen a little bit better. Now, hopefully you'll be able to tell that this is kind of the changes that this will make over our webcam here. I'm gonna, the default is just kind of a gray scheme. It's fairly good for contrast, actually. It's not terrible, but it's also not the best. So first of all, we're gonna change this to a dark theme instead. And this is actually the way that I prefer to have this set. So I'm gonna change to the dark theme. And now hopefully you're able to tell that everything is this very high contrast white on a black background. And it really is quite good in terms of contrast. So I've just exited out to the dashboard here, and everything has retained this high contrast white text on a black background. I think that's really good. It's good in terms of the glare. So there's a lot less glare whenever you have a black background like this. So it's quite comforting on the eyes in that regard. And obviously with the contrast as well, it makes things easier to discern. So I like that one.
I assume when you change the contrast mode like this, it's only affecting these kind of dashboards, but when you go in to start playing a game or watch a movie, the contrast mode won't affect.
Yeah, and that's something that's very worth bearing in mind with this. So the settings for accessibility within the Xbox itself will change things within the Xbox environment. So like the store, the dashboard, any menus and things like that. But when you actually get into games themselves, games will have their own accessibility settings, and those will vary from game to game. And so, you know, a player might have to go into the options within the game itself in order to set up accessibility within the game. And recently a game came out on PlayStation called The Last of Us 2, and it was particularly lauded in this area of accessibility. It had a large number of accessibility settings, including ones for vision as well, to make it easier for people to play the game. And I think probably as we go forward, because games are such a mainstream entertainment medium these days, I think that level of accessibility will only increase. So yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, let's go. We'll check out the other high contrast mode, which is the high contrast light theme. This one is super glary because it's all white background with black text. So for me personally, I find this a little bit too much to handle, but obviously there's going to be people out there who do benefit from this, and if they do, then it's right here for them. So for the moment, I'm going to change this back to the high contrast white on black. Let's go ahead and do that. There we go. This is the dark theme. So that's pretty much how the high contrast works. Obviously, not too much to talk about there, but it's definitely a welcome addition. The other thing that we have for people with low vision is we have magnification. And this is very similar to the magnification that you will find in Windows. And to turn on the magnifier, we can do that within the settings where I just was, but we also have a shortcut that we can use. And if we hold down the Xbox button on the controller, and then we can press the back button, which is just underneath and to the left of the Xbox button. And that one will turn on the magnifier. I already have it turned on at the moment. Now, bear in mind, when it's turned on, that doesn't mean that you're magnified. It just means that you are able to magnify, if that makes sense. So you can be zoomed all the way out and still have the magnifier on. And then when you want to, you can go ahead and zoom in with it. So we do have the magnifier turned on at the moment. You can also turn on narrator from here by pressing the menu button, which is just below and to the right of the Xbox button, and that will turn on and off narrator. So I have the magnification turned on, and now we're going to magnify. And in order to do that, we can use the triggers on the back of the controller. There's a right and a left trigger. Pressing the right trigger will zoom us in. And I'm not sure what magnification it goes to, but it is a good size. When we're magnified, obviously the field of view is going to be reduced, as you would expect. And so to pan around the magnified image, then we can use the right thumbstick, and that will move us around the magnified image. And it's a really smooth pan. I'm quite impressed with the feel of it. It feels really good to pan around. To zoom back out again, we can use the left trigger, and that's going to zoom us back out each time we press it. And as I said, we can go all the way out to 0 magnification, but the magnifier is still on, so when we want to use it, then it's ready to go. So this will work anywhere within either the Xbox ecosystem, but also within games themselves. And so even if a game doesn't have its own accessibility features built in, the magnifier will work and will allow you to magnify the game. And so to demonstrate this, we're actually going to jump into a game here. This is Assassin's Creed Origins, and this is a game which is set in Egypt, ancient Egypt to be exact. And so here we are, and hopefully you can hear me over the music here. Actually, you know what? Let's turn it down a little bit just in case. All right, so there we go. So, so currently I'm here. My character is stood in front of one of the pyramids at Giza, and we have the magnifier turned on, but we're not magnified at the moment. So we're going to use this right trigger to zoom in here each time we press it. I've actually found a weird thing. I actually have to press it twice to zoom in within this game. I don't know if that's the same within other games, but something worth bearing in mind.
Well, what happens if your game...
I'm going to get to that.
Okay,
yeah. No, that's a good one. Okay. So at the moment, when I can zoom in with the right trigger, I can zoom out with the left trigger, and I can pan with the right thumbstick, exactly as I was doing before. Now, what Cory was bringing up here is, okay, that's cool, but what if the game requires the use of the right trigger or the left trigger or the right thumbstick in order to be played? And honestly, most games probably do these days. So what we have to do is switch in between magnifier mode and controller mode by a double press on the Xbox button. And I've actually found this kind of difficult to get the hang of. It's not like a double press like on the iPhone home button, for example, which is quite a quick kind of double press. This one, the button has got some travel, and you have to go a little bit slower. So I'm not 100% at getting it right, to be honest. And also, unfortunately, it doesn't tell you that you've successfully changed, although obviously you can use the controller and find out. But anyway, let's try and change here. So I'm going to go ahead and double press, and let's see if that worked. Yes, it did. Okay. So now my controls have reverted to the normal game controls. So the right thumbstick is now controlling my camera in the 3D space, and that allows me to rotate the camera, which is essential when it comes to playing 3D games. And the triggers now will operate, within the game what they should. And so the left trigger, I think, will pull out my bow. There we go. There's my bow. And the right trigger, I think, will make me swipe my sword. Yes, there we go. There we go. I don't know if you guys heard that, but he sounded quite angry when he did that. So they reverted back to their normal controls. Now a double press of the Xbox button is going to take us back to the magnifier controls. And so I can quite easily swap back and forth between those two modes. Now, the tricky part of this is... the games are kind of designed assuming that you have this full field of view. And so, just because you can magnify doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to help you. It will depend on the game and how playable it is when it's magnified. But at least it's something which is there, which you can try and see whether it improves your experience or not.
I could see it being very beneficial for maybe cutscenes where there's text, or if
totally.
there's something where the character's holding a document with text, whatever. I don't know that you could use it to actually play a game. But for that quick spot reading. Yeah,
that's a good point. And obviously these days a lot of games are voice acted, and so you do get, when characters are talking to each other, they will be speaking, so that obviously that's going to help you there. But then oftentimes when you pick up items or incidental details and things like that, then you will have to do some reading. And so, and in menus and things like that, for sure. If I open up the menu on this game, this is magnified at the moment, and I'm able to read these things. I can make them even larger if I need to. Yeah, so that could be super useful there for sure. Yeah. So it's nice to see. Like I say, this magnification will work anywhere in any game. So for those low vision users, it's always an option which you can turn to.
I would assume then as well it would work if you were playing a movie or if you were watching a YouTube video, or I mean really anything, whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think just like the Windows magnifier will work everywhere. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be exactly the same in that regard.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and exit out of here. We'll go to our home here. Okay, let me zoom out a second. So that's definitely one of the big features that we have. Well, let's take a look at some of the other things. So we're just going to go back into our settings again here. So one of the other things which is in here is in the game transcription option here, and we're going to go into there. And on the far right, there is an option which it's a checkbox you can check, which says "Let games read to me." And the description says that some games can read aloud certain words that appear on screen, and we can choose whether we want them to read to us if that option is available. And so what I'm imagining here, and honestly, I haven't actually tried it, but what I'm imagining here is that just like we were just talking about in-game menus, or like when you pick up items and things like that, normally those wouldn't be spoken to you, but it looks like for games which have included that capability, you can check a box here and they will read that content to you. So that's something worth playing with, something which I think is a nice idea for sure. The other thing that we don't have set up here, but I wanted to talk about, is integration with smart speakers. And so when this Xbox originally came out, they actually had something called Kinect, which was a camera which came with it. And the camera also had a microphone built in. And one of the things you could do with it was issue voice commands to your Xbox and get it to do various things. Now, I think that they've actually scrapped that camera at this point, but however, there are a number of other smart speakers on the market. And so we have like the Alexa and the Google Home, for example, or I should say the Echo and the Google Home. And with those, you can get skills for the Xbox, and they will allow you to do certain things. Now, it's fairly limited in terms of functionality. Some of the things you can do is like turn on your Xbox, you can launch various apps or games, you can adjust volume and things like that. But it's a fairly limited list in terms of the integration. But again, like I could definitely see for a user with visual impairments, rather than trying to find a specific app or game that they know is on their Xbox, but you know, they're having trouble finding it. Being able to launch it with a voice command, you know, I could see definitely some utility for that. Turning on the system with your voice, I don't know, because you can just turn it on from the controller anyway. So, I mean, I feel like, yeah, you'd have to be really desperate if you wanted to do that. But yeah, just launching apps, I think, and changing volume as well, you know, could potentially be useful. So, oh yeah, one other thing here before I pass over to Cory for the narrator stuff. We can control both narrator and the magnifier using a keyboard as well. And I believe you can also connect a mouse as well, from what I understand. But on the keyboard side of things, the controls for the magnifier are actually, you know, basically the same as the controls for the magnifier in Windows. And so to launch the magnifier, we can hold down Windows and press plus, and then we can continue holding down Windows and pressing plus to continue to zoom in. So I've got a keyboard here, and I'm just doing that. It's very seamless. Hold down Windows and press minus to zoom out, and then hold down Control and Alt and use the arrow keys to pan. And yeah, that works really well. So if that's easier, you know, then it's an option. It potentially could be easier in the sense that if you're using the controller, you have to switch in between modes. So like the controller mode and the magnification mode when you're playing games and things. Whereas you could also have a keyboard set up and control the magnifier with the keyboard and leave the controller in the controller mode if you wanted to do that. Yeah, but whether you would want to do that or not, I don't know. I do think, though, that probably operating narrator with the keyboard would probably be easier than using the controller. Yeah. So I think that's all I've got to say about the low vision side of things. Some good stuff in there. I think there is room for improvement, but it's kind of tricky because, as I had alluded to before, there's two sides to the accessibility story here. There's the console side, which we're looking at here, but there's also the actual game side, and Microsoft don't have control over what developers put into their games in terms of accessibility. So that's going to vary on a game-by-game basis. But yeah, I think it's nice that they've included some of this accessibility stuff into the console at least. All right, Cory, you want to take it away with the narrator stuff? I'm going to put you back out to the dashboard here. Let me give you the controller.
Got it.
There we go.
So, as Luke has mentioned, the Xbox also provides narrator. For those that are familiar, narrator is the screen reader that's provided on Windows 10. And on the Windows 10 side, it's becoming really a well-developed screen reader. And so they've also included it here on the Xbox. Now, as first and foremost, the narrator is not going to assist you in playing games. And that's the same as kind of Luke was just talking about, that these making the console, the Xbox itself accessible is one piece, but then going into games and apps is a whole separate piece. So what I have found, and I've got very limited use with narrator on the Xbox, what I have found to be helpful is more of the kind of the support side of it, setting up an Xbox for a friend or family, and kind of being able to go through and download apps and things like that. Now, I know there are a number of blind gamers out there who use both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox, and they are playing some games, from some fighting games to The Last of Us 2, like you mentioned, to MLB. And so I do recommend doing a little search if you're interested to see how blind gamers are using accessibility to play some of their games. Do a quick search. Number one, you can search for a gentleman called Liam Irvin. He's got a YouTube channel and streams and has a lot of videos on blind gaming. And then if you're also interested in learning more about narrator on Xbox, take a quick Google search for David Woodbridge. He's a gentleman out of Australia who has done a number of podcasts, really kind of diving a little more deep into narrator on the Xbox. So let's take a look at what it sounds like and some of the kind of basic functions we can do. Probably need to turn up the TV, perhaps.
Oh yeah, good
idea.
See here.
Yeah, so in order to launch narrator, we're going to do very similar to what Luke did when he launched magnification. We're going to hit the Xbox button, hold it until it vibrates, and then we're going to hit the menu button, which is kind of down and to the right, just a bit of that Xbox button. So I'll press and hold, and I'll hit menu. I'll press and hold, and hit menu.
Magnifier mode, Xbox dashboard window, resume, Prof Scriv, 2,355 gamer score, Luke Scriven, LukeSierraBinOptics@gmail.com,
Okay.
Button,
So
press the Y button to search.
So we've got narrator up and running. We hear our good friend Microsoft David. I think that's what his name is.
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
And so I'm assuming inside the ease of access, we can increase and decrease some of the speech as well, make it speak faster. But we can now do some basic navigation. So let's say we wanted to move around and go find the ease of access that Luke was taking a look at in the settings. We're going to use the same, a lot of the same commands that Luke used via the controller. But as we do that, we'll now see and hear that we are getting speech feedback from narrator. So if I hit the Xbox button.
Guide for Prof Scriv window, guide tab, 1 of 6.
We hear that we're on the guide
press
tab
button
and
to share last capture.
First,
press menu button for more options.
6.
Press right trigger button to jump to bottom button.
And we get some help tips as well.
Home landmark.
We're going to use our right arrow.
People tab. 2 of
Move
6.
through the different tabs.
Communication tab. 3 of Achievements tab. 45 new. Capture and share tab. Profile and system
are.
tab. 6 of 6.
And we'll go ahead and
Luke
hit our, I
Scriven.
think it's our A button.
Prof Scrib.
Yep,
Button.
that
Yeah, that sounds good.
Overlay 1.
We'll hit our A
Window.
to accept.
My profile. Button. 1 of 4.
So now we hear my profile 1 of 4. So it's letting us know there are 4 options here. So let's go see if we can find settings.
My account. Button. My subscriptions.
Okay,
Appear
we need
online.
To,
Combo
we've opened
box.
my profile,
Collapse.
so we need to back
4
out
of
here.
4.
How did we go?
Appear online.
Uh-oh.
Appear
Get
online.
out of here.
Com-
there
Guide
you
for
go. Now
Prof
use your
Script
down arrow
window.
from here. That should
Add
be
or
it.
switch. Button. Sign out.
Oh, that's weird.
Settings.
There we go. I'm not
Button.
sure why we went in.
4 of
Okay, here we
7.
go. Now let's try our settings.
Settings window. Console info.
All right,
1
now
of
let's see
7.
if we can find ease of access.
Updates and
It's on the
download.
left-hand side
Language
here.
and location. 3 of 7.
So you can't go down here.
Time.
Because you're on the
4
right
of
side
7.
of the right side, so press your left on your D-pad. There you
System.
go. Now press
3
it down
of
to get
6.
ease of access.
Selected.
All right. So one of the things that you're going to find, and this is partially because I don't have a lot of experience, but also partially when you're dealing with a very visual layout here, narrator is not giving you a whole lot of feedback of kind of where you are and how to navigate a little bit. So it does take a little bit of practice of kind of learning, is it left, right, up, down? And again, as you use your system more, you're going to get a better feel for how these menu strips are laid out. Oops, I hit the wrong button.
Devices and preferences. 5 of ease of access.
There it is.
6 of 6.
So do you not
Selected.
hit your A button here?
You probably can.
Okay,
Probably
that's
take
fine.
over.
Narrator.
There we go.
1 of 7.
So here are all those same 7 options that we saw before. Let's go into narrator for a moment.
Narrator on checkbox checked. Narrator is a screen reader that reads text, buttons, and other items on your screen out loud. Narrator works best with a keyboard. Some things may not be read with a controller. Narrator now uses a standard
So
keyboard
it's giving
layout.
us a lot of information here. So let's move down and see what we've got.
I think we've got to go to the right.
Yes, we do.
possibly. Yeah.
Narrator options.
Oh, there we go.
Button.
Yeah.
1 of 5.
So a little
Change the voice narrator uses. Adjust voice volume, speed, and pitch.
there we go. So
Choose
let's go
what
in there
con-
for a second.
Voice.
So
Microsoft
there's
David.
our, we can
Combo
change
box.
our voice.
Volume. Slider at 50. Speed.
Now let's change
Slider
our speed.
at 10. 3 of 4.
But now the question is,
11.
yeah, there you go.
12. 13.
So we can make it
14,
faster
13,
or
12.
slower.
11. 10.
We'll go back to 10. So as you can see, we can move around these different, well, one of us can move around these menus. Once you sort of learn that structure, as we're moving around these menus, we are getting speech feedback. We're getting that text-to-speech narrator letting us know what's there. So we have the ability to add accounts. We have the ability to change our profile and settings. So you can really get in and try to change a lot of the different settings and set up that Xbox. Now, if you wanted to access an app or a game, we can also do that. So we'll hit our Xbox button again to bring up our menu.
Guide for
And we'll
Prof
choose
Script
home
window.
here.
Xbox dashboard window. Resume. Launch. Assassin's Creed registered origins.
All right.
Press
so
the menu button for more options. Button. Press the X button to eject. Press the
now
Y
what I
button to
want to do,
search.
though, is
1
now I
of
want
1.
to get over to, and Luke's going to give us a hand here. I think it's to the left, but I could be totally wrong. I want to get over to where it says my games and apps.
We're going to be down.
Down. I was
Yeah.
going to say down. I should have said that. So left. All right, here we go.
Navigation. My games
There
and
we go.
apps. Button.
So we'll hit A.
Press My games and apps window. Section titles. Games. 17 items. Button.
So we
1 of
can
5.
choose games. It says we have 17, or if we go down,
Apps.
we can look at
15
apps.
items.
We'll
Button.
go in there.
Apps window. Group header. Sorted by AZ. Blu-ray player. 1 of 15.
Now it
Press the
tells us
menu
that we
button
have
to get
15
more
apps
options.
here. We can use our arrow keys to move around. Let's find YouTube, for example.
Community. Microsoft. Xbox Avatar Editor. Xbox. YouTube.
There it is.
15 of 15.
And we'll hit our A button to launch it.
We are, no, we're in it, but it hasn't told you.
Yeah. So here's where we now run into a barrier. I've not been able to get narrator to work in any of these third-party apps, in Netflix, in YouTube, and games as well. So again, I'm not an expert, so I may be missing something here. But what I have found, I'm not able to now kind of move around YouTube and play videos and things like that. So again, I can find it, launch it, but once I land in it, I'm kind of stuck.
So I think going back to your point earlier on, narrator, if you are a visually impaired like parent, for example, and you want to set up an Xbox for your kid and, you know, maybe like download some games for the kid, which are appropriate, and then maybe kind of help the kid to like launch games, you know, and set up parental controls and any of that type of stuff, then I think like narrator is going to be good for all of that. Yeah, those types of things. But in terms of just kind of playing media and stuff, not so much.
Yeah. And if you are a blind gamer who knows that a specific game, like a 2D fighter game or MLB or bowling, whatever game that you know that you want to play, or you found ways to make it accessible, with narrator, you're able to move through and launch that game and start playing it.
Yeah. So, and you can also use your smart speaker for that as well to launch a game as well. So
that's a brief introduction to what narrator is capable of on the Xbox. Again, I do recommend checking out some of the blind gamers on YouTube. It is pretty amazing to watch them play games. And then also do there's some individuals, David Woodbridge and some other individuals who've done some more in-depth podcasts on narrator and accessibility of the Xbox.
Awesome.
All right. Are you ready to determine well, I guess maybe we'll jump in real quick and just make sure there's no questions.
I haven't seen anything pop up as of yet. If anybody does have any questions, you can feel free to drop them into the chat or the Q&A.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do that. But in the meantime, then we will start our epic battle.
So I'm going to try to launch the game just to show that it can be done. So I'm going to hit my Xbox button and I'm going to go home.
Xbox dashboard window.
Now there's probably, I know it's probably in the recent, but I'm going to
press
do it a
the menu
little
button for
different
more
way.
navigation.
We'll go into
My games and
games
apps.
and apps. This time we'll choose
My games and games window.
And now we're looking for Street Fighter, right?
Banjo-Kazooie,
yes,
2 of 7,
correct, yeah.
Jetpack, Resident Evil, Viva Pinata,
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Resident Super Street.
Oh, was that it?
That was it.
Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition.
So let's go ahead and launch it. And if we need to switch, you know, let me just turn off.
Dialogue.
I don't think it would.
Exiting narrator.
But
Oh yeah, probably wouldn't have.
yeah, I would have just not done anything.
Do you need to switch remotes?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So basically, the idea behind this is we're going to see how people who are blind can play games.
Yep.
And a 2D fighting game is a good game genre for somebody who's blind because there's no 3D movement required. So basically, you either going left or right, and then you're obviously trying to, you know, punch and kick the opponent.
It's really mashing
buttons.
buttons.
So which can be done via mashing buttons, and obviously there's audio feedback from the characters. Now, one of the things that we had trouble with when we were trying this out before was
Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition.
Let me just turn this down for a second here. This person who announces on this is very very enthusiastic. One of the problems that we had before was knowing if both people are blind, knowing whether the characters are making contact with each other or not.
Because in the old fighting games, you couldn't switch sides. So if you started on the right, you always were on the right. You could never go on the other side of the character. But with the newer ones,
that's not the case.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can start on the right, but then end up on the other side of them.
Yeah. So what we found then, like when we were playing and I'm seeing the screen, I will tell Cory which side of me he is on, as much as I can, because sometimes we flip sides, so often it can be kind of hard to keep up. But then once we do the blindfold, so when I close my eyes and play against Cory, so effectively we're both blind at that point, then what we found useful was to say, okay, we're only going to move right. And if we both move right, then we know that we have to be on the right-hand side. So theoretically, we should, at that point, be facing the right way. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So for this first round that we're going to play here, I'm going to be looking at the screen, and we're going to randomize the characters to make this as fair a trial as possible. So I think, Cory, if you press A at the moment, that should randomize. Let me just have a quick look at your controller. Okay, so now try pressing A. Okay, and then if you press A again, and then one more time, and one more time, and I'm going to do the same on my side here. Okay. So now we're going to randomize the stage that we're playing in as well. So we're going to go down and randomize that. So it's all as fair as it can be, except for the fact that I'm sighted, so I definitely have an advantage here.
So am I on the right or left starting?
That's a good question. Let's figure it out. So I think you're going to be on the left, but let's double check this.
Well, let's get this started. Let's see who we got.
I think you're some big red Oh no, maybe that's me. Okay, so let's figure out what side we're on.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm on the left and you're on the right. Your character is a big, muscly guy with blue hair and red skin. And my guy is some weedy guy. So, hold on a second. Hold on, technical errors. We're in magnifier. Yeah, over there.
Hey, that makes it equal. You can't see, make it so magnified that you can't.
All right, there we go. I think we're good to go.
Let's try it.
So I'm on the left, you're on the right. You ready?
Oh, look at that. Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So let's fight here. Okay, so you just grabbed me and threw me across the screen. Ow, you kicked me in the face. I'm just punching you there. And I see your headbutting me. Okay, we're still in the same positions here. Oh, now you're on the opposite side. You're on the left. Damn, you are kicking my butt at the moment. Okay, so you're still on the left at the moment.
I'm running away from you.
You are currently running away from me. You're currently hitting me in the face. Now you're still on the left. Oh, you do. Oh, wow. Okay, you're just some crazy move. You're like pile drive me or something. Now I'm on the left and you're on the right. Just to let you know here. Okay. There we go. Oh, you did it again. Somehow you always pull off the special moves when you play this game. Okay, you just knocked me out.
Yeah.
So Cory won that one.
That's good.
That was totally legitimate as well. I was trying to win. All right. So let's just stop here. So now we're gonna play, and I'm gonna close my eyes for this round.
I'm gonna trust you.
And Cory's gonna trust me, which is very nice of him.
I want you to take your mask that you wear when out of the room.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna put it on my eyes instead. I like it. So now I guess we're both gonna just go right, so that we know that we should be in the same area of the screen, and we'll see what happens. We're gonna try and figure out what's going on by the audio. I actually just thought of something good here. Actually, if we had a male and a female character, we'd be able to tell who was making what noises.
That's true.
So that might be a better way to do it.
That's a good point. I think of that.
Okay, we ready?
I'm doing it.
All right, here we go. So we're going to head right here and see what happens. I have absolutely no idea what's going on here, but definitely things are getting hit. I don't know what's getting hit. Okay, we don't seem to be hitting each other anymore.
I'm going right.
Oh, there we go.
I got clobbered.
I'd love to know what moves are being pulled here, because it sounds pretty brutal. Okay. Oh, what happened there? You hear that?
No.
You started like
a chain or something.
Okay, somebody won there. I have no idea. Okay, I won!
Oh,
yeah. That means we have one more round.
Yeah.
So this time we'll do me with my eyes closed again, but we'll head left this time. Just
left?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. I hope this looks impressive to viewers. Yeah, we don't know what kind of moves we're pulling here, but hopefully they're cool. Okay, so where we are. Oh, hello. Heading left. Oh man, that sounded nasty. Yeah, there's some real good hits being made here.
Hey, your chain.
Okay. Oh, hello. Okay. Oh! I feel like a special move was just pulled, maybe. Something good happened. Oh! Okay. Who won? Okay. I won. Oh. It was incredibly close, though. It was very, very close.
So close.
So, funnily enough, that means that I'm a better blind gamer than you. But also, it means I'm a really bad sighted gamer.
I beat you sighted.
You beat me when I was sighted, and I beat you when I was blinded.
So I recommend when you go home tonight, you may want to just try you just going blindfolded all the time.
I think maybe that will be my new thing.
Yeah.
I'll just be online tournament gaming with Street Fighter blind. All right, let me move back over here. So,
Awesome.
I mean, I enjoyed that quite a bit. I don't know, how did you feel about that, Cory?
That was fun.
Fun.
I had a lot of stress built up this morning, and now I feel much better now.
It's definitely a good way to relieve stress. So so that kind of game could be appropriate for somebody who's blind, and they would be able to launch it using the accessibility features built into the Xbox. Now, the only tricky bit you would have once you get into the game, you have to navigate some menus in order to get to like the versus battle and everything. But you could probably memorize those bits, I think.
Yeah, a lot of times what people will do who are blind, they'll get a friend who will just quick go through the menu and write everything down, and then they just kind of a guide next to them. So down, right, A, so you do kind of memorize what that.
Yeah, and a game like that one, the menus aren't particularly complex,
Sure.
I would suggest. So yeah, I think that would be perfectly doable. And yeah, it's enjoyable, so why not?
Yeah.
It kind of makes me wonder what other games would be suitable as well. Like you had mentioned, like MLB and stuff.
Yeah,
I kind of wonder how that works.
I know that some past MLB ones had some. Basically, if I'm not mistaken, when you play defense when you're out in the field, it was just automatic.
Okay.
But with the batting, there was some accessibility, kind of some sound prompts and things.
Kind of makes me think of beat baseball.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to a certain extent, absolutely.
Yeah, which is really nice. So, I mean, that is obviously something the game developer put in there, and good for them. Yeah, and I hope to see more of that stuff in the next generation of consoles. So, definite potential here. I honestly, I don't know what the accessibility is like in the PlayStation. I hope it's somewhat similar.
It does. It has text-to-speech built into it as well, but I don't believe it's as full-featured as the Xbox is.
Okay.
But again, I know, do a quick Google search. You'll find plenty of demo videos online.
Yeah. I would say that we're not necessarily experts in this area. We just thought it'd be a fun video to do.
Yeah.
There's definitely going to be a bunch more resources online if this stuff looks interesting to you. One thing we didn't necessarily kind of demonstrate was using the keyboard with narrator. And, narrator, the settings themselves, when you go into them, say that narrator is easier to use with the keyboard. Yeah. And I think that's definitely going to be true, especially for somebody who's used to using a computer anyway. Yeah. So yeah, that would make that side of things a little bit better. And also text input. I mean, using the keyboard for text input where it's needed, for example, entering credit card details if you're downloading games, going to be a lot easier on the keyboard.
And moving around the virtual keyboard.
Exactly. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. But with that, I mean, I guess that's the end of today's Tech Talk. We don't seem to have any questions in the chat. Okay. So thank you everybody for attending.
We've got a good one next. Not that this wasn't a good one, but we've got a special guest in 2 weeks. So remember, we're doing these every 2 weeks from now on. Yep. So our next one will be August.
Good luck.
Something.
I can look this up here. August 6th.
I was going to say 6th.
You would have been right.
But good. August 6th. We are having Eric from Humanware will be joining us, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes, yeah, I had actually forgotten about that.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing the Connect 12,
yes,
the Explore 5,
yes,
and the Explore 8, and then also I think we might tap into
we might look at the Victor,
the Trek.
Yeah, the Trek.
Depending on time, that might be an upcoming webinar.
Yeah, that would be a separate webinar. So. Yeah. But if you tune in 2 weeks' time using the same Zoom link, and we'll be live again at 11 a.m. And we hope to see you all there. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time.
Sounds good.
Open chat.